At least now we know, because usually logging in and logging out sorts it. So welcome to chapter 21 of the Joy of Business Book Club. What do people require? And we have Dr. Glenna Rice, and we also have Michelle MacDonald, JCF's on with us this evening. So welcome, Glenna and Michelle.
Thank you, Melanie. Wow, this is chapter 21. We've had 21 of these calls. I am totally amazed. I haven't been on the last few, and everyone I've been on, I've totally had so much fun talking about this book, Joy of Business. Does everyone have their book? With Simone Melissus. So this chapter is what do people require, which I think was one of the first ones I signed up to do because I really like this topic and to have this awareness about, when you're aware of what people require, you can speak to what they can receive. And when someone can receive something, you actually get a lot more change or a lot more possibilities and a lot more doors open if you ever try to go beyond what they can receive. You try to push past it. So asking what does this person require or what do people require them in business with is a great question just to have all the time with you when you're doing business, when you pick up a telephone call, when you start to teach a class, when you're talking to clients, just being what would it take for me to give these people only what they require and have an awareness of what they require. And I love the different examples that Simone gives in the book about how it's worked for her. So can we help? Is Michelle, can we hear you? No.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! So excited to be on this chapter. It's one of the, just tapping into that awareness of what they need as well, to be able to do business with people and even just to be able to speak with people so that they can receive what they're asking for. And that's what I love about this. It just exponentializes everything that you're doing and helps create even more. And it starts that magnetic attraction that they're like, oh, you've got what I want because you understand what I want and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when she talked about the businessmen, especially with the whole Me Too movement that's going on in the world and stuff like that, about how she was in a meeting with someone who kept saying, I can do business with women. I haven't any problem doing business with women. And she walked out with her associate, she says, and she said, yeah, you get that this guy that was just talking doesn't like doing business with women, right? And he said, no, I didn't get it. She said, well, if someone's saying that 3 times, you don't like doing business with women. Because if you did like doing business with women, you wouldn't need to say anything like that. You would just be doing business with women. But to say it all the time is you're trying to prove something. And then she was like, okay, from now on, he's your contact, meaning the man she was staying with. This guy doesn't like doing business with women. So as a businesswoman, she did what was required to create more in her business. She didn't push in his face and try to force it. Oh, yeah, well, you should be doing business with women with probably an Australian accent. She didn't do that. She was just willing to receive where he was. I did a Southern accent. What he could receive and how could she work with him to create more.
Yeah. And I love, like Simone says in the book, I was willing to perceive what they required and to deliver that, and not from resistance and reaction, but from awareness and knowing that I would get what I required. It's all part of manipulation and the fun of being the joy of business. So you're manipulating the situation so that they get what they require and that you get what you require.
Everywhere you're not willing to manipulate from what is required, would you guys be willing to uncreate around that?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Does anyone have any questions for us? I would love questions.
Yeah, so Galia says, hi, Glenna, you are getting better and younger. How does it get any better? How do you start a conversation about what you do if no one is asking about it?
Well, I have a strange rule. It's one of my very few rules in the world that I have. But if someone doesn't ask me 3 times, I don't really tell them about what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because they're not really interested. So I have patients come into my office and they know, or people, and they know I'm traveling all the time, parents in the schools, and they're kind of intrigued But they never, if they don't, and I just say, oh, I'm a physical therapist, I do some energy work, I teach some classes on energy work, self-development, maybe I'll give them a little line like that. And if they don't ask me another question, I just don't go there. If they've asked, when someone's asked me 3 times, well, what is it you do? I know that they actually want to have a conversation or have some information about it. There's something they're curious about. So that's kind of my guideline. It's more of a guideline than a rule. I don't know, what do you do, Michelle? What do you?
I love that. So I follow Gary Douglas, where he says, be interested, not interesting. Because if you are asking, like, because people want to talk about themselves. So it's like, you know, what if, you know, if they think, wow, you're really interesting because you've listened to them and you've heard their story. And then they go, okay, and what do you do? And then that, like, they've got everything off their chest. And then that opens up the space for them to go, okay, oh, you're really interesting. What do you do? And so it's that invitation to play with them.
That's really good. That's excellent. Yeah. It's funny when I do have that conversation, it's usually they go into telling me about some kind of a spiritual, strange, metaphysical practice, bodywork, yoga thing that they do that they think is like, and they start talking about themselves, because that is what most people like to do.
And also, you know, and I do sit in places like, and I attend, you know, networking events and things like that. And there are times that I actually just don't say anything whatsoever, because I perceive that they can't receive, and they're not really interested in what I do. So I just wait and I just listen to them and I just ask them questions about themselves. And if they don't ask, they don't ask. And I have the awareness that they're not interested, and, you know, they're not after what I offer. So that's cool.
Yeah, and that's really knowing what's required, right? What is required? If this person's not interested, you're not required to talk to them. It's like, the question would be like, who is interested in what I do and who actually wants information from me? Who actually wants to know what I know and do business with me? And what's required to meet them, to find them, and what's required when you're with them. Yeah. You know, there is something, when you, like networking, I've been a few of those things with therapists. I know that's something I don't do a lot. But just by being what we are, that's so different, by being the question and the space and the energy and the consciousness, there is something that they're attracted to, that you'll often, just by not even talking about what you do, but just being you, they'll be intrigued enough that they have a business card and they call you up and ask you a question later or want to know more later. So being you is a great way to just have that conversation you're talking about.
Yeah. And then, like, in those events where, like, because people, like, I know a lot of people freeze up when it comes to, like, they have to go in and have to talk about themselves or networking, or they don't like being the center of attention. I got this great tool off Corey Michelle years ago, and it's like, what would it take to be the brightest, sparkliest, shiniest person in the room that everyone wants to talk to? Now, you ask that question before you walk in, and people come up and they're like, who are you? What do you do? And then you just have to stay there. You don't have to move the room. The room keeps moving around to you. And someone goes, who are you? What do you do? You're really engrossed in conversation. And it's just like that. Here's that invitation. Who would like to speak to me?
That's
and it works. And it gets you out of that, oh, how do I approach someone? You know, there's the initial, like, okay, you know, let's do the initial icebreaker. But after you do that, like, you know, everyone's in the same boat. And how many people's awareness are you picking up on that are in that, you know, event that are like, I don't know who to speak to. I don't know what to say. You know, and it's just like, what if you can be that invitation for them to start opening up?
I love that. Say that question again.
What would it take to be the brightest, sparkliest, shiniest person in the room that everyone would like to talk to?
Wow, that's awesome.
Or, you know, or find out what I do, or, you know, who can I speak to that has a connection, or who can I speak to that is looking for what I have to offer?
Yeah. You know,
and just, you know, like, even by saying, like, who has a connection, who's looking for something that I can contribute. Like, someone could say, oh, I'm looking for so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, you need to speak to, you know, this lady over here, because she does that, what you're looking for. It's just that having that, you know, awareness of what everyone is around you and what everyone requires.
It's kind of that question that's in the book on page 170, or what do these people require of me? I mean, do they require to be the biggest, brightest star, so it's easier for them to start conversations up because they're attracted to it? It's funny because I was so awkward before I started using these tools. And in those situations, I picked up all that energy so much, like who does it belong to? Is this mine or someone else's? So critical for me to change, for me to be even able to stand in a social function and not want to hide in the corner. And I remember the first time it was after an access class and everyone was mingling and I just wanted to escape. But I had that tool, who does it belong to? And I was like, who does it belong to? And it lightened up. And then I started looking at everyone and going, wow, so many people in this room are actually having that same point of view. They don't want to escape. Somehow they could force through it. I was never good at that. And I was able to stay in the room. This was in my, I was around 40. So I'd had 30 years of my life where I ran from rooms or tried to get out of rooms or had, do something to not be in them to do that social networking. And what's required might just be a question like, who does this belong to?
Yeah. Oh, God, I remember, because I used to, be in corporate, and it was just, I'd attend events, and I'd attend on my own because, I didn't have a team around me of women that would come because I worked in a male-dominated environment. And then I'd go to events and I'd stand there and I'd cringe. I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong about me? I don't know how to talk to anyone. I don't know how to do anything. And you know what's really funny? Years later, and as I was friends with another woman who, same position on a different floor, different division, and she'd go, oh my God, you were the most confident person at those events. And I was like, you're joking, are you? And she's like, no. And I thought she was the most confident person, but it's just you don't know what the other person is feeling. So it's about having that awareness and tapping into them and being that invitation to open them up to start talking. And while you feel like you're cringing on the inside, someone else is seeing someone that's confident.
Yeah. And how confident were you that you weren't acknowledging?
Exactly.
And that's funny. I just heard, it was actually Chitissa Bowman in a call series that I'm on with her say something about, if you buy, we all have heard that if you buy a point of view or have a judgment or a point of view, you can't see anything else that doesn't match it, right? But she said, if you buy someone else's point of view about you, then you can't see you. And it's kind of like if you're in a room with people, I know I'd never heard it before either. I was like dumbstruck. How many times have I done that? Oh my God. So if you're in a room and you are picking up other people are not comfortable speaking, you buy that point of view as yours, then you can't see anything but their point of view about you. And you won't even be able to see you, the confident being you are. That makes sense. It's kind of everything's opposite what appears to be. Nothing is the opposite what appears to be. But how many times are we in situations with people like that and we buy their point of view as our point of view and then we can't see us anymore?
Yeah.
So don't
use a ton. Melanie, can you type that one in there? Oh wow, that just blows my world.
I wish everywhere you've been there and done that, we just try and create all of that.
Yeah.
For you guys. Times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, and boys and beyonds. Yeah, I just heard it a few weeks ago. It's still blowing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm still noticing all these places.
And also, questions to ask yourself is what is honoring to them and honoring to you when you're finding out what's required in business. Also what some people say is not actually energetically what they're giving you. And you're like, that's when words don't match. And so it's having that awareness of, okay, they're saying this, but that's not quite right. So it allows you to then start digging down to find out what's going to honor you and what's going to honor them so that you have that mutual collaboration.
I love this chapter. These different rules of etiquette, I don't know how many people are doing business all over the world, but I travel quite extensively. And I love that she's talking about that, about looking at the different cultures you go to or the different, even if it's just a different city or a business that has totally different etiquette or point of view than your own business, to be aware of that so everyone can feel comfortable in what's required. If you're wanting to do business, you're wanting to create some kind of a business relationship and what can create ease for them so you can open those doors. And I know one of the things that I'll do before I go to a new country, I will go on YouTube and look up all these etiquette things and find out what you can and can't do, what's considered rude or bad. And there was all these chopstick rules that I didn't know about when I went to Japan that was quite funny, talking to the ladies that were hosting me about after the class, going, oh yeah, so you can't do this and you can't do that. And they're like, no, there's like, you can't share food, chopstick to chopstick. There's cute little ones that I didn't know about, but all cultures have this. And when she talks about what you can wear in different cultures, and not showing your shoulders in India and not cleavage, but you can bare your midriff. These are great things to know. One, it puts them at more ease, but also you, because you can feel like you won't feel as awkward because that energy won't be up for them.
And Simone has that example in the book of even like sneezing in Korea and what that created. And, like you can't do it. And it changed, it changed the whole situation.
Oh, the one about having to eat the goat fat when she was vegetarian is even better.
Yeah.
You guys read that? Should we read that one out? That paragraph? It's pretty funny.
Yes, you do that, Glenna.
Okay, so one of my suppliers, this is Simone, one of my suppliers in Nepal once organized a big festive dinner to honor me. They slaughtered a goat, they slit its throat, the blood was pouring out, and they collected it in a bowl. I was pretty much a vegetarian at the time. The yummiest part of the goat is considered to be the goat fat. So they fried pieces of fat and put it in bowls of milk fresh from the goat. And I thought, oh no, you're kidding me. As I did not wish to dishonor them, I had to receive their gift. I drank the warm milk and ate the goat's fat. What is required here is totally intense. A friend who was traveling with me at the time filmed the event and thought it was hilarious, as she knew exactly what was going through my head. However, I had the point of view that learning about what's required in different cultures is part of the adventure and joy of business and living. So she could turn having to eat goat fat from warm, fresh goat milk into this adventure and joy of business and living. Like, what are you refusing to be that's required to be that that don't allow you to have this adventure and joy of business and living? Everything that doesn't allow that to show up, we destroy and uncreate it all.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Are there more questions?
So Galnia says to everyone, how to connect with being me and being paid for it. I apologize if I sound silly. They happy when I come and buy something, but no one has hired or paid for me, having me in their space yet. So all the points of view and expectations, projections, conclusions, and judgments that you have about doing business with that person, doing that interaction, would you like to destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what about asking the question of, what invitation can I be to what, what invitation can I be that will invite them to what I have to offer? Because if it's like when you have that expectation, you have that pushing energy, and that's what people can perceive. So if you get rid of all those decisions, judgments, computations, and conclusions about anything that will occur, because you've got blinders on, and the universe can only deliver what you see, like that's that little slim track, and you're excluding that whole other 95% that can come to you. Does that make sense? Does that help? Do you have more questions?
Yeah. Well, she does say, you're right on it. Like there's not, it's, they're happy when I come and buy something, but no one has hired or paid me for having me in their space yet. It's not a question. That's a conclusion. And when you have a conclusion or a point of view like that, you can't really see anything that doesn't match it. So those, like the blinders on, like how much are you refusing to see where it could be different, where it is different, where something different is showing up, or where the universe is trying to get you some different information, and you can't see it because of that point of view. So I would, all the lies you're using to create that reality you are choosing, do you want to destroy and create all of that? About any reality you guys are choosing. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. We're talking a lot about lies right now, more in Access, about, you pot and pock the lie, don't ask why, don't try to figure it out. It's a lie. You can't really do much with the lie except know that it's a lie. And if that doesn't feel light to you, right? The light and heavy. If it's when you say that the last thing you wrote, if that's not light for you, it's not true. It's a lie. So you want to pock and pod that lie. And if that wasn't a problem, like to turn every problem around, if that wasn't a problem, what possibility is there? What possibility is, I'm reading it right now, kind of twisting around. Is it true that no one has ever hired or paid for you? And I'm not sure what you do, but is that true? And to acknowledge where you have and ask for more of that, or ask for something different, or what would I have to be to create and generate to have people hire and pay for me? It sounds kind of fun.
And do you also have a space that it's just like if someone does want to work with you, that you can invite them into your space?
So
you don't always have to be in their space. So it's thinking outside of the box, like, whether if you are doing body treatments or like the bars or anything else, do you have a consulting room that you could use on an ad hoc basis? Or do you have, whether it's in a business capacity, whether you can do consultations, like is there a room somewhere that you can hire for a meeting for an hour or two? Who do you know in business that wouldn't mind you using their room? I know in Australia, one of the banks has they have free office space for small business that you can go in and hire their space. And so if you get outside of that, how you think it should look, and go, well, what else is possible that I've not yet considered? What other spaces can I be at or use at? Or what if it's like a coffee shop? Like in the US, there's tons of business done in coffee shops compared to Australia.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm typing. So I'm multitasking badly.
So in my space is a problem. Too much attention feels overwhelming. So everywhere that you're not willing to be the center of attention, would you like to destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because how come, the same thing, how can people see you if you're not willing to be seen? And how can they come to you? And how can they step into your space or invite you into their space if you're not willing to show up?
Yeah, that's good. One of the things you can do with that, there's some, this is right out of the foundation manual, is energy pulls and practicing them in public places to start to, get the energy of people noticing you and looking at you, and that overwhelmed feeling or whatever it is, you can start to become aware of it and do some clearings, like everything that is, trying to create it all, receive the energy, lower your barriers. You can go into coffee shops, you can do business, you can do energy pulls in coffee shops. I know in the foundation manual, which one of the beginning manuals in Access, one of the first classes you can take, the beginning classes, is the foundation. And there's a exercise where you go into a Starbucks and you pull energy through the whole universe, through everyone in there, through you and at the back. So you're pulling energy. And I used to do this with my kids in shopping lines, like when we were waiting in grocery lines, waiting for checkout, if there's a lot of people waiting at busy time in the evening. And I would see who could pull the most. But what you would find is that people kind of look in your direction. They don't know why they're looking where you are, but they start turning their heads. A bunch of people just start turning their heads towards where we would be, and perceiving the energy. Because you'll start to build a muscle with it also, and know, wow, I didn't die. Look at that. I walked right out of the store and I'm fine. And pull more and more, and that may create more ease with that overwhelm. And they always say, can an infinite being be overwhelmed? Yes or no?
And with that exercise, it's great to see what you're not willing to receive. When people turn around, you go, and you shut down, you're like, okay, I'm not quite ready for that. So it's like, okay, so let's pock and pod everywhere that is, and then start again. So it's you know, your limitation comes up at the same time too.
So what's this other question she wrote? But it seems that most of the times I do equalization. Can you say a bit more on the difference between equalization and energy connection?
So the equalization is when you're trickling energy back out to the people. And so when they receive it, so when they do come across you, they're like, you're the person I've been looking for. They come to your website and they're like, that's who I want to work with. That's exactly what I've been looking for. It's that feeling that when they've met you, they're like, they're home. Like you can give them what they've been looking for. And you're the person that they are willing to receive from.
Like that. And energy connection, do you want to speak about that? What would you, Michelle? Is there a difference? I'm kind of getting that is an energetic connection. When you're doing any of these energy flows, you're connecting. There are energetic connections with people where you're whether you're flowing energy, pulling energy, and there's different ways to do it at different times in business. And you can really ask your body, or before you go in a meeting, what energy pool is required to create greater than I can imagine at this meeting, or whatever your question is if you're looking for something specific. So your body can pull energy through everyone, and that gets them to see you. If you're in with a bunch of grumpy people that aren't listening to you, you may flow energy. Or if you're looking for a job, you flow and fill them up, and then you can equalize the energy once you feel that change, when it gets lighter. And flow a little trickle so they notice you. And all of those are ways to connect or manipulate the energy so they work for you.
And that ties in beautifully of how should you dress, because that is the invitation, that who you are and who you be. Is it of what other people go, oh, I love Glenna's dress. I want, I love the way Glenna dresses, and you see her legs. Oh, I could do that. And it's like, it's that whole that you get people to start looking at themselves and their own reality, and it's like, oh, so you can wear a nice V-neck top for business or something, and you don't have to be like high type of collars and hiding your body. And this is a question that people have asked me a couple of questions about this, and it's just like, well, why do you see some people like there's a lot of skin? And it's really interesting. Someone told me years ago that because we're animals and we are attracted to skin. And if you look at a woman, if you see a woman with a low cut top, as a woman, where do your eyes go? It's just like, oh, there's bare skin. You're looking at bare arms, you're looking at legs, and you're like, and this is also partly a manipulation, because when people are looking at that, they don't have their barriers up to what you're saying, or if they're asking, and they're able to receive more from you because they're more open to I don't know, what do you find, Glenna?
No, I think that's true. What we wear, what our body chooses to wear, because that's really how I dress, changes with so many of the places I'm in. Like I'm going down to a cheerleading state finals for my daughter tomorrow morning, and I'm starting to pack. And I'm realizing, wow, I am packing really differently with this group of moms and cheerleader moms and parents than I would be going to Italy to teach a 3-day body class. It's a completely different, and I'm kind of excited because I don't get to dress this way very often. I'm usually in dresses and heels at the classes. But if you allow your body to choose and to be to create in your business with you, what would your body like to wear for the meeting you're going to, the class you're teaching, whatever it is, what would you like to wear? What's going to create the most? It actually will have a huge awareness of the people that are showing up and what's required. And it may be a business suit in some places. Absolutely. I've had some days where, I need to wear a jacket and something and what that is, I don't know till I've been to the class and taught it. Or, so I don't know what the reason is. I just know that it's light to choose it that way, and it's creating more for me. And then I'm creating with my body. So how I dress changes quite a bit, and it's changed over the years too. My shoes have gotten more expensive, and my dresses maybe are a little less short because it's awkward sitting in chairs in short dresses.
And and also the impact that you can have on other people.
Cool.
Because
Yeah.
I have this, I bought years ago, it's a 70s dress and it had long sleeves, and what I did was and it's like red and pink and orange and, you know, black, and I cut the sleeves off and I modified it and I changed it and I wear it over, you know, black leggings and a black top. And only every so often does my body ask to wear this. And when I do, I'm walking down the street and people go, oh my God, I love your dress. And you should see the smile on their face, because just by me wearing that, they've gone, I've brightened up their day, because they're like, oh, that's nice.
I want to see it. I want to see it. Have I seen it? Well, I mean, I guess you could say it's dressing for success. That kind of does match the energy. But your body is the one that you really want to talk to about choosing what that dressing for success is, because it has a really, really great awareness, and great awareness is about what's going to work for you. And if you're creating your business, you're also creating it with your body, since it's doing a lot of that stuff. So putting it into the equation is going to make it so you don't have to think so much. You know, I mean, if you weren't someone that grew up with how you're supposed to dress in certain meetings and business and those kind of things, go to a store. Walk around in the different departments and start like looking at different things in body. Would you like this? Yes or no? Just feel what the energy is. Go try them on. See how they look. Play around with it. You don't have to buy anything. Just start to get a feel of what it would be like to dress in a way that would create what you're asking for with business. And
I would also ask, will this make me money? If I buy you, will you make me money? And so it's that energetic, it's that same thing with that dress. Like, I didn't have that tool when I bought it, but I had the awareness of, yes, this needs to come into my wardrobe. And it's that, if I buy you, will you make me money? Now, examples of this, I had this bag, which was like, it was a handbag, and it was nothing that I'd seen before. And I was like, yeah, I've got to have that. And I had to hunt it down through all the chain stores and get them to find it. Now, when I went across to the States, walking down the street, and I'd have people say, I love your bag. I even had one guy drive past in a car, yell out, I love your bag. Like, and it's just like, you know, will that make me money? It's not linear. It's like, you create, and someone could remember, they're like, oh, I remember you had that fantastic bag. And that's their memory of who you are, that they go, oh, yes, yeah, oh, no, definitely you have to speak to Michelle. And so, like, that's not, like, a referral can come in, and that's, you know, another way that your bag can make you money.
What if how you dressed was some of your best advertisement about you and your business?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I have a story. I was, if I buy you, will you make me more money? This question. I was pulled into one of these discount clothing stores. They're like Marshalls. We have them here in America. You may have them in other parts of the world. So their designer stuff marked down, pulled right to the shoes. Back at the corner of the shoe place, down at the bottom, there's a pair of were they Prada? Yeah, pumps, right? And I'd never had any shoes that kind of expensive, and they're marked 75% off, and they're still more than I've ever spent on a pair of shoes. And they're my size, which is right there. And I picked them up and said, "Truth, if I buy you, will you make me more money?" And it was huge, yes. And I still had to sit there for a minute. Okay, this is crazy to pick on shoes. I purchased them. And it's there's like a little reputation I have about wearing nice shoes and having like that gets spun around. Oh, have you seen Glenna's shoes? It's kind of been an advertisement for me in my classes over the years. So did those shoes make me more money? Absolutely. And I still have them. They're still beautiful, and I still wear them all the time. So they still create for me. So that little teeny investment in the shoe, what I've gotten back from it over the years has been phenomenal. So that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that one up, Michelle. That's great. If I buy you, will you make me more money?
And I would also get you to tap into your awareness of whether it's what your body is asking for or what someone else is asking for. And a brilliant example of this is the first time that I went to Joy Business 101 and 102 in Houston, Texas, that Simone was teaching. I was looking, I'm like, why am I packing all this blue? Now I wear black, and there was all these blue accents, and I couldn't work it out. Sitting down the first day in class, Simone walks in and sits down, and I went, because Simone wears all blue. Like, there's blue accents everywhere. I was like, oh, I just tapped into Simone packing when I was doing my own packing. So now it gives me a bit more awareness of, okay, you know, what are you asking for? Yep.
And who does this belong to, right? Awesome.
Simone's got, wherever you go, it's essential to find out what's required, as it will create and generate success for you and your business. So that's tapping back into the dress requirements for that country that you're visiting. So, you know, if you're going to a Muslim country, you're not going to wear a top with a low V-neck and, you know, higher dresses. You're probably going to wear slacks and be more covered and more conservative. So it's definitely tapping into, how does that country do business? How do you need to be perceived? How do you need to be perceived to be a businesswoman to be able to do business with those people in that country? And it could be questions about tapping into whoever you're working with. Or like that you're visiting for work, and then you're like, okay, can you give me an idea of, before I come across, what do I need to pack? What, you know, is there something particular that is in your culture that I'm not going to find?
No, those are all great questions. I went to Dubai, Muslim country, for a workshop, and I bought a whole bunch of new clothes for that trip because I wanted stuff that was higher necked, longer sleeves, scarves to wrap kind of around me. And I'm really glad I did. But actually, when I got there in the hotel, which was a very Western hotel, it's a very multicultural city. People were walking around in mini skirts, and I mean, it's like, I could have brought anything. But then, you know, there was a lot of women in abayas too, and I got that it really was creating for me to be dressed that way as a Western American woman visiting the country, to not be someone that was shocking. And not to create those judgments that they would, I mean, there's good times to create judgments, but some of them maybe not, to create the judges of this American woman and the way they dress. So it allowed me to have more ease walking around the hotels, talking to the staffers and some of the people that actually came to my class that were Muslim. It was actually created more ease for me, which was probably the ease also that was being created for them to have the clothes that I wouldn't usually wear other places.
And so Simone's got this example in the book, which absolutely floored me when I actually read it, but it just shows you that attention to detail. So Simone talks about, I was told that when a major Australian airline is interviewing women to be hostesses, the interviewers ask the women to stand up and turn around slowly, and the interviewers look at the heels of the women's shoes. Their point of view is that if the heels are well taken care of and not scuffed, it means the person takes care of herself. She's a good candidate for the job. So while all the expectations, judgments, decisions, computations, and conclusions that you have about that, would you like to destroy it and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. Because what if that is what's required to get you that job so that you can travel the world? Are you willing to be and do whatever it takes to create the life the way that you desire?
Yeah, life that works for you. Yeah, your scuffed heels. Who'd have think? Who'd have thunk, right? That scuffed heels would change whether you got the job. You know, but I worked retail for quite a few years when I was in college in a big department store like a Macy's or Nordstrom's. And the security guards targeted people like that. Their racial profiling wasn't on race. It was on what shoes people came in. Because you can't, what they said is you can't steal shoes. So people could steal nicer clothes and come in and look like they were fitting in and come into other stores. Often they were returning stuff that they'd stole from another store, that kind of a thing. But they could not steal shoes because there's only ever one on the shelf. So they would have beat up shoes. So that's who they would follow around the store, which I always thought was interesting. A little different take on it. But what is required? This is like what's required. For what I'm choosing to create. Like if you're going in to steal something from a store, you need to wear good shoes. Or get or have a job airline as an airline.
So Galena said, so when I realized recently I choose often against me, especially when it's in the moment. It's a base place on how I operate. So what if you could change it? And I bet you can't.
Yeah, and what do you love? I mean, it's kind of like we create everything in our lives. We're the creators of our reality. So how is that creation working for you? There's something about it that has some value, or it wouldn't be something you were creating or asking questions about. So, what is it? I choose often against me. Yeah. So what is that energy for you? And what if you could just uncreate and destroy everything that is about choosing against you? Does it feel light? Is it still working for you at all? So everything that is, you want to destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and girls. This is a great place to do the lie one. How many lies are you using to create that reality about you are you choosing? Because it's not something you may be able to figure out, but energies will pop up about the lie it is. And then you can destroy and uncreate everything that is. Times a godzillion. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Oh, nice. Now I can change it.
What's the value of staying small and being the same as everyone else? Because by doing that, you're just hiding, and that's where you say that attention feels overwhelming. You know what? When in those moments that it feels overwhelming, the best tip I was ever given was turn it up. Ask the molecules to turn it up, and make it more and more intense, so that then that intensity is then comfortable for you later on. And it's just like, what else can I be that is an invitation to other people to, because they're like, oh, I like the way that you dress. My hair. Do you know how many people come up and they're like, oh my God, I love your hair. And you know what, for them, that's an invitation for them to start talking to me. And then they're like, oh, what do you do? Where do you get your hair cut? So it's just that, and that's that connection. That's that, we're all connected. And it's allowing them to suddenly tap into their own connection and start being an invitation for others as well.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And most of the things that we make ourselves wrong are our strongness. So what wrongness is this? It's actually a strongness that you haven't acknowledged. Because it's like there's some energy that maybe the hiding, the overwhelm, all of that isn't really as true for you as you are buying it as. What actually talents and abilities do you have here that you're hiding from you with these points of views? She's written some more. What is overwhelming and being seen is the judgments and being alone and kind of against everyone else.
So judgments, ching.
No.
If you can receive a judgment, it's going to make you money. For every judgment you receive, it's $5,000, and for every judgment you can't receive, you'll lose $10,000.
Yes.
So to flip that, it's just like, bring it on, baby. Judgments, bring it on.
That's part of how the expensive shoes, people judge, oh, she's rich. But that judgment creates more money if I receive it and don't resist it and say, oh, I don't want anyone to think I'm a rich bitch. I'm not going to wear these shoes. It's like, no, people can have whatever points they would like about me. As long as I don't buy them as real, receive those judgments, then I receive more. And the more you receive, the more money shows up. Money follows the receiving and the being. So you get more money. You receive more money when you receive judgments. And this thing about being alone, it's really interesting. You're talking around being around people and being overwhelmed and then also feeling alone when you're around people. Interesting. Can an infinite being, who does that belong to, right? Can an infinite being actually be alone? There are 8 billion people on the planet with us. And how much work do you have to do to pretend you're alone in a planet with that many people? And we're psychic infinite beings. We can perceive everyone around us. So, being alone is actually a gift if you ever get it for 10 seconds, because we actually can't ever pull that one off. Because there's too many people around and too much energy's around to actually have the aloneness. So that's a lie you're buying into, that you're alone.
Truth. You actually like people.
That was.
And I say that because it sounds really funny, but the moment I really got that at class, that I'm going to say this and it's going to sound funny, but I don't like people. What I don't like is I don't like having to stand there and make small talk at a bus stop or things like that, where people have no interest in what you're doing. They ask you a question for the sake of asking it, but they're not interested in the answer. That's where I don't like people. Once I went, I actually don't like people and I don't give a shit. It gave me permission then to stand at the bus stop and just be in my own world and create and sit there and create. And it's just like, cool. And then I didn't care what people thought.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's true. And it's not a bad thing to not like people. I mean, there's a lot of times I don't like being around people. And I'm around people a lot. But yeah, this school bus stop, I remember dropping my daughter at school and we were early and she's like, drop me off here so I can walk. And I was like, why? It's easier if you don't have to watch. I don't want to stand around before school and have to talk to people for the same point of view. You know,
Yeah.
she was fine with it. The ease she had in knowing she didn't want to be around people at ridiculous times when she didn't want to was amazing to me to see that. There's another question here. But if you don't have money when you wear expensive shoes, I mean, if you get the judgments and you actually don't have money, will you create more money by receiving those judgments? And you had money to buy the shoes. And it's actually true that you don't have money because there's monies everywhere. It's maybe you don't have it all yet. You haven't received it all yet. Maybe you don't have as much money as you would like, but what money actually do you have when people are looking at those shoes?
And have you asked the money to show up?
Sorry, this is Karen. Can I interrupt?
Please.
Talking about receiving judgments, I teach Tai Chi, and I got a comment that the class that I'm teaching, they're not coming back anymore because I'm teaching both beginners and long-time people, and this is a long-term people, because I'm talking too basic. So I had to respond to that, and it brought up all kinds of, you know, it's a judgment, right? So how do you have more ease because receiving feedback and judgment, because that's required of where I work if I want to continue working, and I do.
Well, what does the class?
Go, Glenn.
What does the class require from you? You've got a huge range of people. I mean, I teach class, and not Tai Chi, very cool. But where I have people that, you know, an intro night where people just walked in out of the door, never heard a thing about Access before, and then people that are been doing Access for 15 years I can have in my class. What does the class require? What can you speak to that everyone could hear or receive something from? How could you have it? You know, how could the class contribute to you being aware of what that is? Like, I don't know, you do some basic skills and then you show how to do a more advanced. I'm not sure. I have not taken Tai Chi, so I can't speak to the specifics of that. But can the class contribute to giving you an awareness? And what are they asking for? What's required?
Well,
go ahead, Michelle. You were going to say something.
That's a great question to ask. And, you know, what I've been doing is I would be thinking about how I teach the class. And these are all the things I would have to remind them, because Tai Chi is slow. And what do? We're fast. These are constant reminders to breathe, to slow down. And these are basic things. And maybe I am being repetitive, but even in a long-term class, like some people have been with me for 6 years now, and they keep coming back. So I'm doing something right. I mean, I teach the form. This is my third time teaching the form. It's the same form, same class.
And what if you said at the start of the lesson, like, so you may find what I'm going to say repetitive. It's a reminder as we go along, everyone's at different levels and everyone hears things at different times. And also everyone needs for it to be said in different ways to be able to receive it. Because you'll often find when you're sitting in class, Gary and Dane will say things or whatever, like 3 different ways. Same thing, but 3 different ways, because they might not hear it the first 2 times, but then they resonate with the last one and they're like, oh, now I know what you're talking about.
I like that. You know, and Karen, is there any way where that you're making yourself a little bit like wrong that you got this?
No, Glenna, absolutely not.
So what if nothing you've ever done in any of these classes has ever been wrong? What if that person's point of view is an interesting point of view? Okay, you've had people coming to your class for how many years? That's pretty extraordinary for someone to follow a teacher for that long. Can you acknowledge what you've been creating? You know, and this is like what we talked about, the point of view. When you buy someone else's point of view about you, you can't see you. You can only see their point of view about you. So how much are you doing that with this? All right, everything that is. You want to stir and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Everyone get that 5 o'clock online choice, boys and beyond.
And what if it's just a justification for them, their excuse to leave the class?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I got that too. Yeah. I know. Don't let the door slam you on the way out.
Yes.
quickly?
Oh, thank you.
A great question. I want to come to your class.
Before, when it was asked about, you know, connection versus energy flows, creating an energetic connection with people keeps that connection and keeps that flow happening and keeps that connection in place. So it doesn't matter where you are, people can tap into you anywhere, anytime. And it can just be an energetic high, you know, and that's all that they need, and off they go again.
Very cool.
Does anyone else have any questions? A question you can ask is, what do I have to contribute here for a good relationship to occur? So once again, a question is giving you the awareness of what the other person is, what they require, and for you to then tap into that and use that for the goodness of you all. No, but it's not like, on a serious note, it's that awareness if you're like, oh, this is what they're after. Yes, I can do that, or no, actually that's out of my bounds. And so that gives you a clarity about who you're working with.
Yeah. We just have a few minutes left. I just, you know, what is required? It's a question, when I do parenting classes, this is a question I always give parents, like, do my children require anything of me, or what do they require? And it's for parents, it's to see that our children require very little of us. Like, we think that they require way more than they do. And how much do we do that in business, that we think things are required that actually aren't required, that we have to have everything prepared a certain way, that we've got to be attentive when they actually, they may need more space to choose to create with you or do business with you. So asking what is required, is anything required in a situation, which you can ask during that, when you're in those meetings or group things and you're feeling overwhelmed or like you're supposed to be talking to people, that's a great question to ask. Is there anything required right now? And then you can be the bright, shining person in the room that stands there and nothing's required but you being. And what would that create?
And what if you're just required to be silent and observe? And that's an invitation for someone else who's in the room that's quiet for them to then approach you. So it's not always being about being out there and overwhelming. It's like, what's required in this 10 seconds that that is invitation for people who are looking for what I have to offer. And Monique says something about letting go of past creations.
Oh, yes.
So Monique, do you destroy and create your business every day? Cool.
Well, she said, I'm going back into my old business, but I don't want to do it the same way. And my question is, could you do it the same way? Is that even possible?
Suppose not.
No. And how would you like to create, it's like, go into a question. How would you like to create this so it was greater than you can imagine or more fun than you can imagine? What joy can you have with this industry you've never considered?
Hi, I think I'm off mute now. Sorry.
And how can you out-create it?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, how can I out-create it? Because to be honest, I created really well and very successfully, but I also got stuffed over quite a lot, and I also overworked. And now, obviously, I've had to heal my health because of that overworking. So there's fear in my body in going back to that past. I know I can do it. I was successful, but what I wasn't successful was actually looking after myself within all those creations, if it makes sense. So I know I have some resistance in going back because I know I can do it, but I'm just scared that I will stuff myself over again, and my body's just not willing to do that. So this is where I'm at.
Be truly scared.
No, but it's still there. So I just have to keep working on it, I suppose.
Keep pock and potting. Just keep pock and potting it. And could you, like, the awareness that you have now,
Yeah, way more
are you really
awareness.
going to accept something when someone goes, okay, I need you to do this, and it's going to be X number of hours, and we expect you to work late, and you're going to have to sit in a chair for 8 hours a day? Are you truly going to go, sure, whatever you want, or you're going to go, actually, that's not going to work for me?
Yeah, it's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's just, you know, maybe I just need to let go of all the compromises that I had in the past. Just pop that. Because I compromised, you know, I had a team to feed, in inverted commas, you know, you have to make budget to pay wages and all this kind of stuff. So I think I'm just in the process of letting go so I can step back in, and there's just more crap there than I could imagine. That's been coming up. So I suppose I just got to keep on poking that, because I just want to do it way different. I'm just not willing to do it the same. At the same time, it's stopping me from going back out there in some way. But then so I'm questioning it. I'm like, maybe that's just not the direction for me, you know?
Is it fun for you?
No, it just doesn't feel fun.
So
I'm just in the question. Yeah, it's really challenging me, because I have a lot of experience in that area. And so do I walk away from it, you know? And I'm just in these questions. Yeah. And financially, I do kind of need to get out there and create some money. So I'm just in that weird changing, I'm just kind of career changing, I suppose, or, you know, letting go of old to.
How fun is that? How fun is that?
It feels really unfun. Even when I'm saying it, I'm just like, oh my God. It just feels like this long, dredgy process, and I'm over it.
Well, you know, when you're wondering if you're going to choose, like when it's that back and forth, should I choose this or you can? The question you can ask is, if I choose to go back to that or to work there, what's my life going to be like in 5 years or 10 years, and get the energy of it. And if I don't choose to go back there, what my life will be like. And no, it's just a choice. You can and leave 10 seconds after you walk in the door the first day.
I think some of it's fun. Like I really enjoy a lot of it. But you're right what Michelle said. It's just not, it's really just choosing the ones that, you know, I really want to work on. And I haven't quite found one of them yet, maybe. That's probably what's stopping me. I just haven't found something that pings and says, yes, I want to put my energy into that.
So everything that is fun about, like, what you enjoy doing in that role, take that and then go, okay, now let's get outside of the box. And what can I create with those aspects? You know, who do I need to speak to? What can I create that is that role, that is only those parts of the job? And it could be somewhere totally left field that you've never considered. You know, what could I create here that I've not yet considered? Who has a role here that would match any of this?
Okay, yeah.
And there's also, you know, it's like, are you willing to be and do whatever it takes? And what if it is stepping back and taking a short contract role in what you used to do, so you really refine those boundaries and you go,
that's what I was thinking of doing. Yeah, that. And even finding that is like challenging. Just something hasn't pinged yet. But when you just said, are you willing to do what it takes? I got a big no, I'm not actually, because my mind goes back to, I'm not willing to overwork and over deliver, and, you know, or not get, all of those things that I've done in the past. I've also not done it as well and been paid really well. But I think it's how do I just let go? It's the resistance that I just need to let go of it.
So everywhere that you're not willing to be vulnerable and tell them exactly what you're looking for and why you won't accept it. Like, you know, does a job require long hours? And they say yes, they go no, or they go once in a blue moon, there might be, you know, long hours, and you go, and then you can choose whether that's acceptable or not, and just say, okay, I had, you can tell them. It's totally up to you what you want to tell them. And
I love that. Yeah. It's about being just really clear and vulnerable and walking away. Even if I've got the skills, even if I can do it, it's just that thing of walking away, which is tough when you're in a bit of a financial bind, so it's just a bit harder to do. Like where before I'd have a buffer so that I could do that easily, but now so thanks anyway, that gets me started. Thank you.
So it's like taking that job was to like taking a short-term contract that gives you the money, that allows you the time to like find where your boundaries really are, and also start exploring new positions, like begin looking for what you want. So you're getting everything met in the one thing, and it is being that what do I have to be and do different today to create the money right away. Anyone else have any questions, or we're good?
Glenna said to say goodbye. She had to jump on too. She had another call on the hour, so she apologizes. But she just...
Sorry. I'll just say thank you. Sorry, I was on mute, but I was actually responding to you, Michelle. So thank you. That's great. I was talking to you, thinking that you could. But that's great. Yeah, about the vulnerability, and I think it's just practicing being different in that industry. And you're right, just kind of getting in there, and I think just doing it, I think will get me to the next stage. Thanks.
Cool. So next week you guys have manipulation with energy.
I always love how we touched on them on the call just before. So that's with Maggie and Deborati, and maybe some other people might jump on too. But so that's it for this week. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for Glenna.
Thank you, Glenna, and Peggy, and Melanie, and everyone for contributing. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it's great. There's some great questions. I love where they go, because you can't always, kind of have form to these chapters. People take them to really cool places. So thanks everyone that's been coming on for every week. We've been going for quite some time. We've only a couple of more weeks to go, so we're just going to milk you for all it's worth. I think we have 3 chapters left. So thanks for joining us tonight, everyone, and we'll see you again next week for Manipulation with Energy. Bye.
Bye.